This one's for all the pals and O'Neill. Such a feed from the jaws of victory with the pop gun and the chubby cheese. Distraction. Hey! Podcast. Pure filth. Wins and losses don't mean shit. So what's Joseph Grinch as I do his bit? Distraction. Hey! Roll up. 1, 2, 3.
Hello, welcome everyone to The Distraction. I'm Jeremy Lambert, joined, as always, Joseph Hulbert. Joseph, how are you?
Well, I'm slightly peeved that I was Robert O'Neill initially, but I mean, listen, that's the first time I'd seen that, Jeremy, as you know. Was that one of the songs I sent you, or was it?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, it was. Okay, good. Yeah. I was thinking because so guys, here we go. Pull back the curtain as we do every week now, right? So I said to Jeremy before, I said JJ from The Observer, great pal of the show. He messages me and he's like, you could do a deal with the prison for the cold open. Because that was, that was topical, I guess, 2 days ago. Now no one remembers it. So that was what we were doing there. And I was thinking, there's a world in which I do this and it's a 5-second clip of me bouncing off the wall. And there's a world in which I message Jeremy and he goes and shoots a motion picture. Frankly, that's what happened. Away he goes. But Jeremy goes to me, he's like, send me the music, pal. I got to edit this thing. So I'm sending Jeremy like 3 different cuts. Like I'm sending him beats for his album. It's incredible.
You messaged me at like 4:30 and you're like, is there any way we can do like a prison cold open? I was like, I don't know, Joseph, like you're messaging me kind of late on this. And you're like, I'm just thinking of like bouncing off the wall and stuff. And I'm thinking about it. I messaged the EP. And I was like, I think I have an idea. Like, I don't have a jumpsuit or anything, but it's like, I think I can go to a playground and like do this. And I messaged you that. And I was like, Joseph, I think I can go to a playground and shoot footage. And you just messaged back, I'm going to a playground. And just laughing emoji.
Yeah, that was when I realized that as the guy that was going to select the music, I had to be very careful with the line I decided to walk. I mean, we got the right sense of danger, right? It was like a dangerous person in the physical sense rather than anything else. But listen, I mean, it was what a job you did for that, Jeremy, and the EP, of course. My God, I mean, that was an effort. Well done.
There was a legit thunderstorm that hit at like 6 o'clock when we were supposed to go out and film this. Trees were down everywhere. I should post pictures of like monstrous trees in the yard and stuff. So I was like, oh man, dude, this thunderstorm just ruined everything. It calmed down. We shot that at like 7:45. We went over there and got it all shot. I was so thrilled. Did you like my nod to Homicide? Couldn't get hanging upside down on the bar.
I thought that was what was going on, but I thought if I said that myself, I'd sound like a lunatic. Okay, your jump shot looked pretty good too, Jeremy. Let me tell you, you could point goal, but you could spot up for an NBA team at this point. Sixers could have you out there on the wing. It's good stuff. I liked it.
I won't tell you how many shots we took of me with the basketball footage and how many misses. Playground was completely empty. Again, there was a big thunderstorm that happened like an hour and a half earlier, so like there was nothing there. It was. I was so proud of that. The music, you sent me 3 cuts, and I didn't know if I wanted to use it at first. Like the natural noise is so good on this, but I listened to all 3 of them. I was like, oh, this like fits, and then the natural noise is still there. So good. I'm very proud of that. Yeah, the banner's back because like, look, I'm patting myself on the back with that one.
You should. It was literally a day ago. I'd suggest it to you, and away we go. This is the thing with this show is the more we do more and more content, this show increasingly actually becomes a wrestling show, which is very, very funny. This is like where we shoot our angles, the analysis is elsewhere, but this is where you get some angles. So there you go, folks. Apparently we are going to talk some wrestling though. I'm not sure about that. That's what I've heard.
I will post the original cut of the cold open. I had to cut out a 7-second clip because I didn't want us to get demonetized. But I'll post that on Twitter. Okay. I used a song that would have gotten us demonetized for this video.
Can't be doing that, pal. This show makes too much money. You can't do that.
Exactly. Speaking of super chats, get them in, everybody. Get your super chats in. Like JJ here. JJ says, hello to my favorite big stars. TNA is back. Christian Cage will become TNA world champion. Jeff Jarrett will invade Rampage. Love you both. Could happen. Man, if I see Jeff Jarrett on Friday, it'd be fantastic. JK Shaw says, very thankful I got the power back after 40-ish hours to see that cold open. My God. Thank you, Jake. Great pal, JK Shaw. And Rob Wilkins says, my God, $2 to the EP for that. Simply perfect. She doesn't get paid. Kidding me? 4K or anything. What are we talking about today, Joseph?
Wrestling, I think. I don't know. You know what we do here. It's a Dynamite review show that's advertised as something other than a Dynamite review show. It's what we do now. We actually have a lot to talk about, right?
We do.
Like, that was eventful. Should we start with the Christian Cage?
I think we have to
comment.
start.
Right.
Yeah, I think we have to start with Christian Cage. I said this months ago that Christian and Omega was going to be for the opener of Rampage for the premiere. And it is. I did not think it was going to be a TNA Impact heavyweight title match. Nothing is going to be that. And then on top of that, I did not think they would run it back 2 weeks later at All Out for the AEW world title. What are we thinking here, Joseph? Do we think this Christian Omega match happens at All Out?
There's a couple different ways to go with this, right? And I'm very hesitant here, Jeremy, because I do not want to spoil Impact Wrestling for anyone. However, if you don't want to be spoiled, please mute your laptop for like 5 seconds. That is a layer here, right? Because the opponent that's apparently awaiting the winner of this match for Resurgence, right? One of those shows, whatever their show is called, Emergence, I think.
I think it's Emergency. I think it's Emergency.
That one makes a lot of sense for Christian. I won't say the name because I don't want people to have to mute their thing, but like that makes a lot of sense for Christian. We know that Omega's working on Andrade this weekend. If he can't make that taping, suddenly it's like, okay, maybe Christian's going to be the Impact World Heavyweight Champion. In that case, it makes a lot more sense of who the next challenger is, allegedly, sources say. And, you know, it's a chance to give Christian some real heat going into this pay-per-view match. Now, Jeremy, I'll now tell you my, not prediction, just instinctual kind of like, don't be surprised if this is what happens, okay?
Okay.
I would not be shocked at all if they do this match and Omega wins, or even if Christian wins, whatever. And the heels kick the shit out of Christian after. They put the boots in, they beat him up, and it's that deal where Omega gets the mic and he's like, who's the all-out guy now? Right? That's the end of All Out, I guess. I can go on holiday. Cult of Personality hits. And everyone is left on the first Rampage being like, what the hell? You advertise for the next Rampage, a Punk promo. Away you go. It's Punk and Omega at All Out. I would not dismiss that. That's what I'll say.
Here, I'm with you on that. Here's the thing. This is the opening match on Rampage. So are you having, like, you're having Omega win, Christian get the beat down, and then Punk's coming out, and then you're doing another 40 minutes of television closing with Britt. I mean, Britt's like the proper closer, right? It's in Pittsburgh. She's going to get a big reaction no matter what you would think. But you're not closing with CM Punk. That's where I'm iffy on this whole thing. Because I thought about that as well. I thought about that, yes, Punk could be coming out at the end of this match. Or Brian, I'll throw it out there. Could be Brian that could be coming out at the end of this match. But then, like, with this being the opener, it's very tough for me to think that they're going to bring out one of these guys 20 minutes into the show and then just do the rest of the show from there. Because I didn't like this last night on Dynamite, where the closing angle was Cody and Malachi last week, and then there was like a 3-second follow-up on it this week. I do think sometimes AEW they have a tendency of just like, and they like to slow build stuff, and I get that, but I wish they would follow up on some stuff. And I think if you're just gonna bring them out 20 minutes, do the rest of your show, and not have any type of like follow-up to that, it feels a little bit weird. It feels like that should be your closer, that should be your hook for the next Dynamite, the next Rampage, whatever it might be.
See, I agree with all of those concerns. It feels awful on AEW to do this match twice in like 3 weeks. Yeah. Now, I don't think it's a problem because Christian's more of a traditional worker, so it's not like he's going to do everything. He'll leave stuff on the table. But like, if it's a case of you're getting all these belts off Omega, so Christian's beating him, then okay, I guess. But like, if Omega wins, then what do you do? Because that's the other thing, right? Like, is Omega dropping the AAA title to Andrade? I don't know. Right?
I think so. They don't mention that AAA title at all. Like they don't talk about that thing at all. I think he's losing to Andrade on Saturday. I really do.
Okay, so do you think he's losing to Christian on Friday?
That one. Do we think they do a DQ?
I mean, like wrestling logic wise, it makes sense, but it just feels like they're just not saying they were doing the opener of a new show. You know?
Yeah, I'm with you that like you don't want to, and they don't do a lot of DQs. Tony Khan's talked about that a lot. They don't like to rely on DQs. It just feels they really. I think Christian wins. I don't see how you do Christian Omega at All Out if Christian loses on Friday. I just don't.
That's the thing, yeah. But then, do you really want to beat Omega on TV? Like, it's just an interesting one. I don't know. So it's like I'm not predicting they're going to do Punk and Omega. I'm just trying to figure out if there's like more to this than they just wrestle twice. I guess because it feels like something in here has changed, right? Like it feels like the original plan was not to do 2 of these matches to me.
No,
that's just my guess. To me, the logical thing within this particular story is Christian wins here and then loses at All Out, which does the deal where it's like you get the Impact title off of Kenny to a guy that he then beats anyway. That works for AEW, right?
Yeah.
But then at the same time, it's like I just don't know if I want to beat. Like, when was the last time Omega lost? A long time ago. Like you protected him in the 10-man for a reason too. Like it's probably been over a year. I don't really want him to lose to Christian on the opener of Rampage personally. Like, but I guess that's the thing with all the belts, right? It's that's kind of the issue. And the other thing too is with the audience that's going to be watching this show All Out, like everyone knows Christian's not winning the AEW title, right? Dude, if he beats him on Friday, like the audience, it's a fascinating thing. I'm excited for the match, to be clear. It just feels like there could be more to this. It feels like there could be a twist in the tail, so to speak, you know?
The last time Omega lost, I don't remember who took the pinfall in this match. You might remember more than me, Joseph. Was All Out last year when him and Hangman lost the tag titles. Hangman took the fall. Okay.
It's Connor says here it was Pac at All Out, so that'd be 2019.
You're just gonna beat him on the opening episode of Rampage. It's weird. I think Christian wins or they're swerving for All Out. Those are the only 2 scenarios I can see. I don't think Kenny wins and then you just run this match back at All Out. I don't see it. I don't see it at all.
Yeah, because the thing too is if you just did it in a vacuum, it's like, well, you just do a no finish, right? You get some heat on it, you run like a 6-man next week with the Jurassic Express, you do that kind of deal. And it's like that works, but again, it goes back to that same issue we just run into of like you're really going to start the Rampage show that you're building as like it's all action, like with one of your weirdest. They never do DQs, so that's the most logical finish in a vacuum. Now, I don't know. I don't know, man. And I'm not saying this is a criticism either. Like I'm saying they've got me interested in what the hell they plan to do because I think they have a plan.
Yeah,
I would hope they have a plan. Yeah, but I also think like you and I have to at some point accept that maybe Christian is literally just the match at All Out. Because I have now spent like a month just being like, no, because they're going to do this and they're going to get out of it this way. It's like maybe he's just the match, but like at the same time, I just don't know what you do with Friday. Then I don't know. It's a fascinating choice. And as soon as he went that way, I was like, wait, are they going to do like someone else who's going to wrestle for the Impact title? Like Cheese Net says 20-minute draw, and it's like, but the time limit will be 60.
I think the time limit for I don't know. I'd assume even if it's the Impact World title, the time limit's more than 20. I thought of a time limit as well, and like maybe you can push 30, but that doesn't leave a lot of time for like you do 30 minutes there. If they're already in the ring to start the show, you've got to do a quick. We think the Miro match can be pretty quick regardless. The Britt and Velvet match, you want to give them some time. But the finish of there isn't really in doubt, so they don't need to go like too long. You could maybe push a 30-minute time limit.
Yes, but even still, it's like because then All Out they wrestle when it's like you've seen them wrestle for 30 minutes, and I think they could do it. But like if the crowd is already kind of it really is a fascinating situation they're in here, right? Because you also have that element of like you're not sure the All Out crowd is going to be fired up for this match anyway. So like is Friday's match a way of getting them more jazz for that, where they have a classic and people go, shit, I want to see them run it back. Because if it's 30-minute draw, that may not do that. I don't know. So
Anthony Pride here has kind of my suggestion as well. What if Bud Murphy shows up instead of Punk? Remember the video? The journalist stated that he came to release him.
To be honest with you, Anthony, I think that'd be tremendous. But when I mentioned Punk a moment ago, the comments thought I was a raging asshole. So I don't know. He's not in the rankings. The thing is with that stuff is I agree with all of you guys that was like they're not going to do Punk and Omega. But if there is a world in which Punk wants to be a heel, and that's what he wants to do, he wants to come in and be a dick and be a complete piece of shit, and because that's where all of his best programs are, we're being honest, right? Hangman and Punk, Moxley and Punk, Darby and Punk, Kingston and Punk. In that world, there is something to be said for heroic, triumphant return Punk, rolling into Chicago, losing the big match against Omega, and then immediately revealing his true colors. Like there's this section. And look, full disclosure, if I was CM Punk's friend, advisor, whatever, I would probably say to him, "This not wrestle Kenny Omega after 7 years out of the wrestling ring," because Kenny he's that dude,
he's
right?
looked good in training, Joseph. He's looked good. He's in shape. He's wrestling Stephen Amell very well. Yeah. He's good. He can go out there and have a classic with Kenny.
So this is where this stuff's really fun, because it's like I fully trust that they have an idea here of how they're going to do this, and I have no idea what it looks like.
No.
And that's fun, because very often the playbook is awful. Like, you can see it, like you can just see it laid out. But here it's, I don't know, man. I'll say this much. I'm certainly fired up for the match itself. I think Christian's going to have a great match, right, mate? I mean, it'd be a fool to suggest otherwise, right? But, like, it does feel like a case of Christian, kind of them looking at it and saying, we want Christian to get that match. We don't want it to be all out. That's why my mind keeps thinking, what else is the all out deal, But what if it's a situation where they do the angle I just suggested, but a Jungle Boy is thrown back in there,
I can see Jungle Boy is definitely a possibility, and that's where the angle you suggested, but it'd be Buddy Murphy. You've convinced me Buddy Murphy's just showing up on Friday.
Yeah, that's probably a bad idea. You shouldn't.
Completely convinced.
He's told us many times he's no compete, so me just ignoring him is probably my fault. But I guess there's, again, in a world, you would generally say, okay, here's what you do, guys. We're going to have 12 incredible minutes of Kenny and Christian. We're going to shoot an angle, DQ, and people are going to say, God, I want to see the end of that match. I just can't see a world in which that's their play. I'm sorry. And maybe I'm naive, Jeremy. I may well be. But, man, to me, it's like they're probably going to just do a match. It's like, do you have Gallows and Anderson or the Bucks screw Christian and Kenny beats him? It's like, okay, then what do you do all that? You tell me.
You ban them from ringside? Like,
yeah, someone said, and rightly, there was like a stipulation match, and it's like,
yeah,
do you do a ladder match? Do you do a cage match so that no one can get in? Like, what do you do? I don't know.
Don't do a ladder match. God. I mean, it'd probably be good. Like, Christian Omega would be a good ladder match, but that'd be a rib on me. I go to this show and get a ladder match of all things. We mentioned it before. Like, we definitely thought that the Hangman thing was just, they were going there. Didn't matter what happened. They were just going Hangman Omega at all out. Clearly, unless, what if they do that? What if they actually do just go back to Hangman of, same thing, same angle, beat down, Hangman comes out. Like,
we're not doing this again. Dave has told us enough times. We have to listen to him at some point. I don't think it's happening, pal.
I don't think it is either. And I think like they can go away from this because, to us, the CM Punk thing, like you do CM Punk and Darby, and it's like, okay, this is a cool match underneath Hangman and Omega. But I feel like now to them, I don't think you're running Christian Omega on top after just doing it 2 weeks before on free TV. And I think they're running Punk and Darby, if that's the match. Whatever the Punk match is, that feels like it's headlining.
Yeah, that Darby thing is one of those deals. We spoke about this a week ago, I think, but it's like, it's definitely on the table, and he makes a lot of sense as Punk's first opponent back, right? Like he's a guy that can basically be a pinball bump everywhere, but he's also a guy that will slow down and sell for Punk. But it could very well be that was just a hint for the sake of a hint. I guess what I'm saying is, and I think you're on board with this, Jeremy, I haven't penciled in Punk and Darby the way everyone else has. I think there's a very good chance that was just literally just a way of getting a guy to reference Punk being at the show.
They said it again last night, though.
What did they say?
Excalibur was like, "Oh, he's another win away from being the best in the world after he beat Daniel Garcia." Yeah, they referenced it again last night.
So this is the thing that's really interesting, and this is why the Omega stuff fascinates me. Is like, if Punk comes in and beats Darby Allin, which makes sense, like he has to win his first match, right? Darby doesn't lose anything from that. That's fine.
Yeah.
So inevitably, you're going to end up with Punk and Omega. And this is where the Hangman stuff gets really interesting. Because if we imagine Hangman is back in 6 weeks, I mean, you have no choice. You have to get straight back to Hangman and Omega because the Elite are the guys that writ him off TV. Okay, so then how do you fit a Punk and a Bryan into that whole picture, right? And that's why, guys, even though I know it's against all of AEW's logic, that's why I personally am kind of thinking about this Punk Omega situation, just because there's so many moving pieces, you know? Like, I think it is feasible that a Tony Khan looks at it and says, listen, if you don't wrestle Kenny for the belt now, I don't know how much longer Kenny's having that belt. And it's a beautiful problem to have, right? We're talking about who's going to challenge for the belt. Hangman, Bryan, Punk, all these guys. Like, it's terrific. It's just, there's a lot. And I'm intrigued what their answer is, I guess. Go ahead.
Does Punk have to beat Darby Allin? I know that's like the logical thing. It's in Chicago. You want to give Punk the win. Right. They like putting the hometown person over, shockingly. But you could tell a story there of like Punk hasn't wrestled in 7 years. Like if he loses that first match to Darby Allin, like you make Darby even further. And you could tell the story of just like, it's Punk's first match in 7 years. He's wrestling a guy who wrestles every single week on television, as sharp, as on his game, in his prime. You got to maybe not a wash CM Punk, but you got a guy who's been off for a very long time, past his physical prime, certainly. Like you can tell that story.
I think you only do that if that's where Punk like he feigns a handshake and dick kicks him or something, you know, and he's a sore loser.
I'm fine with that.
I don't know. Like I agree with everyone in the chat's rightly saying like you can do Kenny and Punk without the belt. At some point though, like if Punk is going to be a babyface, the idea of him trying to win the big one is a pretty epic story. And Kenny does feel like the perfect champ for that particular kind of story, if that makes sense. But obviously everyone's great. It's a main event even without the belt. A good one here from El Canelo. Glad to see him in the chat. He says, what about Omega and Jay White? Now listen, Jay White could be the guy that comes out in the exact angle we just discussed. It could be a case of, who am I facing at All Out now? And the Switchblade man comes out. You know, that could happen too. I'm not dismissing that. Like, I don't love it because you have so many top contenders on your actual roster. What's the point? But like,
I think there might, because the New Japan show is Saturday night. It is possible Jay White is doing some type of media Friday night and wouldn't even be in Pittsburgh.
Okay, it's interesting. I don't know. I think this conversation will be very interesting next week because I assume we'll have some answers, right? I'm not going to dismiss that we're way overthinking it and Christian just beats him. I'm not going to dismiss that.
This is kind of where I think they're going. I think Christian's just going to win. I really do.
And then the explanation of that could literally just be, you know, let's be real about this. It could be a case of Christian and AEW are kind of aware that match at All Out is going to be, you know, it's going to be a lot of times what like the big gold belt was for WWE in those last years, where it's like it's a world title match, but everyone's looking elsewhere. That's what it'll be, right? So maybe this is happening now it's like a sort of make good in the sense that, hey, listen, Christian wants to wrestle Omega. Let's give him a match where it feels like a mega match because that Pittsburgh crowd is going to be more than happy to get Christian versus Omega, you know? And also, as I said earlier, Christian is the kind of pro wrestler that certainly is made for an actual program where you run it back. Like this isn't a guy who's going to do every idea in the book in one match. So, no, I think
neither is Omega either.
Right, of course, yeah. It's like I think there's a lot to that. So, I think there's a lot in play here. But if we were just to predict, I think you and I, would both say Christian's going to win in a 20-minute match before they do a 25-minute match on pay-per-view. You know.
That's my final prediction on what I think will happen on Friday. I think Christian wins. If it's something else, great. I'll be more than happy for it. I still think it's Bud Murphy. He's gonna come out there, double V triggers, and the whole stadium just gonna collapse. Honestly, let me catch up on some super chats here. Manuel Rosales has seen people mad because AEW is having average episodes and saying it hasn't been good since the pandemic. I think Christian thing is a swerve. Could be. Very much could be. Brenton, here's his comment. Apologies. I just still don't think Christian is getting the title match all out. Me during Christian's insurance.
There you go. That's exactly right. And that's why, I actually feel bad for Christian because, I am probably more than anyone and pumped up about that match. He's just, he's what he is.
It's
right?
tough. They put him in a bad spot. Honestly, they did, and it's not. I'm not sure how much the fault of the company. It's not his fault. I'm not even sure how much is the fault of the company. If the paternity leave for Hangman is the reason, that's not the company's fault. But they put him in a tough spot doing this because, like I've been saying, I think the plan was always for Christian Omega at this Rampage episode. I think that was always the plan. I don't think Christian at All Out was always the plan.
So you're suggesting that perhaps this was always penciled in for the AEW title, and they have now adjusted it to make it a. Okay, no, that makes sense. I don't know if I like that. I feel like there's other ways to have adjusted it, but
I agree. Kylo says out rematch everyone. What else do we got here? Guys, get your super chats in. We'll read your question, comment, statement on air. Cody says, have to watch once I get home from work. Just wanted to hop on to show my support. Britsburg was on fire last night. Looking forward to tomorrow's show. So am I. I'll be there. It's a good show. Good to see Miro in action. Britt Baker. Britt Baker was very over. I liked her jacket as well. Pittsburgh Penguins. Can you name me 2 players on the Pittsburgh Penguins, Joseph?
I can't name you one player. Can't you name half a name of a player? Of course I can't.
Crosby. Crosby's the name of a player.
There you go. I saw there's a lot of tag title talk. I think they've played this hand, made it more obvious over the last couple of weeks with the C shows. They've been getting wins, but last night set the table, right? Lucha Bros are getting the tag title match. That's what they're doing there.
Oh, at All
They're
Out?
going to do Lucha Bros at All Out, and then I think they'll actually drop them at Arthur Ashe to Santana and Ortiz. That's my guess.
Could be. I like that. Manuel says, seeing people mad that Punk and Danielson might win the AEW titles eventually down the road, I feel that will look good for the title lineage. I mean, depending on when it happens, why are people going to be mad if,
I do have to say, people have got to definitely chill. They're looking at these dudes like they're, Big Sexy and Hogan in 99. They're going to come in and phone. You going to sign talent like that and just be like, no, they are not, in the title picture. They're attractions. No, man, they're incredible stars. They're great, especially in Brian's case. He's still one of the greatest wrestlers in the world. I assume Punk can get there. We'll see. Quickly, I obviously didn't explain it. I wasn't saying the Lucha Bros would be transition champs. I was saying they would lose and the Bucks would then drop them to Santana and Ortiz. That was my fault. I didn't explain that. There was one other thing here before we move on. Jeremy Lambert.
Well, Kim Breezy, real quickly, says, I don't believe Christian will get 2 world title shots just to lose them both. That's why I think he's winning, or you got to do a swerve, right?
So John is the one I was like, he says, how about Punk and Danielson versus Sting and Darby in the main event? I do think people have been too quick to dismiss the idea of an all-star tag match. Now, I don't know about that one in particular, but when you have the man called Sting wrestling in Texas Tornado matches with 2.0 on television, you should definitely have him on the pay-per-view board of guys that could be involved in stuff, And I think in AEW especially, multi-man tags, even just straight tags, they can be marquee matches. I would definitely not dismiss the idea of, I don't know about Brian, I think he's coming after the pay-per-view, but I would not dismiss the idea, man, of Punk being in some sort of tag. I just wouldn't. I don't know what that looks like, guys, full disclosure. But, man, there's a lot, again, I hate to keep repeating myself, but there's a lot of different things going on here. And I don't know how long we'll talk about this, Jeremy, but quickly, when you see Jericho and MJF not on All Out, it's going to be on next week's Dynamite. Your initial reaction is, what the hell's on this show? And then you start sitting there and thinking about the talent, and you're like, they've got more than enough stuff to fill this pay-per-view. So it's a unique time. The roster's huge. They have so many rotating storylines that, featured one week, not the next. It's this next few weeks is going to be wild, I sense, Jeremy. I know we say that a lot, but I think this is going to be a bit of a scene this next couple of weeks.
Brett says, does Omega losing to Christian play into the AAA match with Andrade, maybe losing that title? I'm convinced no matter what happens on Friday, Omega's losing to Andrade. They haven't mentioned that title at all. Like you can put the title on Andrade and just continue down the path of not even acknowledging this belt or that Omega lost.
If you come out of this weekend with Kenny only having the AEW title, right? That'd be the case, right?
Yeah.
And then he wins it all out against the guy that beat him for the Impact title. It would be like you've kind of got past that plot device without hurting him, which is what I think, that's what you want to do if you're AEW, right? Because that's always been the looming thing. What the hell do you do? The only thing I would ask is, Jeremy, and I feel like I'm being mean about Christian, but like, is that a good return for Impact at all? And I know they don't, it is what it is. They're happy, they're being featured. But see, then you get Christian and he drops the belt to I don't know who. I think Omega and Andrade, I tend to agree. But this is where this Impact match is so interesting. He's like, is Christian going to just win it and then drop it back to Omega? Who is he dropping it to Impact? I have no idea. It's a weird one. There's a lot to kind of sink your teeth into here from a fantasy booking perspective, for sure.
I think Impact is fine with it either way, honestly. Like, would they prefer if one of their guys beats Omega? Maybe. But we've talked about it many times. Like, which one of those guys is beating Omega? We thought it was going to be Moose, and then for some reason they have him just lose to Chris Sabin. And I know they got that win back, but which one of those guys is it going to be that beats Omega? And Christian is a much more feasible guy to where you can kind of you can beat him and it's fine. And the guy still gets a rub from Christian because Christian's still a top guy and
it
an
works.
excellent wrestler.
It definitely works, but the one thing you lose is, so Josh Alexander's coming in the chat, and I love that. Christian and Josh Alexander's a great match, but it's way more powerful for Josh if he's the guy that brings the belt back to the promotion from a guy like Kenny than a guy like Christian who's like, I've been here before, this place is cool. The whole angle right now of Kenny is it's these guys trying to regain the belt from this dickhead who comes in with Don Callis. You lose that with Christian, and that's all. It's not a big deal. Like Josh and Christian's a great pay-per-view match, but I don't know. I would like the return to be someone beating Kenny. I guess that's on their roster. I guess would be my take.
What if the thing is you do the match on Friday? Obviously, Christian wins. Christian defends it against Redacted at Emergency, and then you do the match at All Out. It's a title match. Kenny wins that match. He gets the Impact title back, and then you continue down the same path of whoever beats Kenny gets the title.
Yeah, for sure. You can do that. Yeah. I don't know. Feels like a long route, right? But you give Christian a big win on TV, and it's like
you get Christian like a pay-per-view title because let's be honest, Redacted against Kenny Omega,
the opponent we're referencing here that most people probably know anyway, but the one we're talking about makes a lot more sense as a Christian opponent, honestly, than he does. So I think there's something to that. I guess the other thing too that we should remember is Christian beating Omega does not necessarily mean he kicks out his finish and hits him with his own finish. You could catch him, you could roll him up. There's a lot of different ways you could do it, and AEW's shown you can beat guys without killing them. So why can't this be for Omega what the Penta and Eddie loss was for the Bucks? I guess is the kind of the point. It's just the only difference is there's an Impact title, but frankly, does that really matter?
About the same prestige as a championship contender match.
Well, there you go. I mean, so after 35 minutes conversation, we're still at the same conclusion. We just think Christian's going to win, but we can't quite let ourselves conclude that, right? We keep having to try it. I don't know. It'll be interesting for sure.
Mike Provencher says, I think Hangman winning the title at Arthur Ashe is the plan. The visual would be amazing, and this story will pop the ratings. What do you think, Joseph? Arthur Ashe?
I like it. The only thing I'd be worried about with that is, and I know TV's the priority, but 2 long title reigns ended on TV is it's interesting when you have 4 pay-per-views that cost as much as they do, So the only thing I would say, the other thing with Arthur Ashe that's funny is we all have 8 different matches with fantasy booking for it, and unfortunately it is in fact a 2-hour TV show. So I don't know, and TV is more important now. So the point he made was visually, and you can't argue with that, right? What an image that would be. But then how do you work Brian into that if he's actually shown up at Arthur Ashe?
He comes out early. I think who said it? Jack said it on the show, right? Like Brian and Punk standing tall at Arthur Ashe as in New York as the middle finger to New York. Like I feel like that's the closing visual right there. I feel like that's it.
It's that whole thing is like you talk about all-star tags, like those two guys against the Bucks feels like something you need to do at some point. I know Punk and Brian don't need to be like a team, but like if you can do that match and put it on a poster, jeez, man, that's like some fire. That's outrageous. So yeah, I don't know. I'm going to be honest here. It would scare the ever-loving shit out of me if I was the one that had to do this stuff because it's a lot, right? Every time you go one way, it's like, what about if we do this? And it's a beautiful problem to have. Yeah. I said it last week. It was only 18 months ago that on pay-per-view they did Hager and Dustin, and it's like, bless Dustin, but that ain't on the pay-per-view for card anytime soon. Like this roster is outrageous, man. It's crazy.
You mentioned like 2 long title reigns ending on television, and we discussed it last week, so I won't get into it too much this week, but we talked about like the pay-per-view and these title matches needing to feel important. I didn't think the last one felt important because Orange and Pac were thrown together in the final weeks. Now we're getting a pay-per-view title match, assuming it stays the same, that we see on free television 2 weeks prior. Something like if this title match stays the same, it's something they got to address. They just have to. If you want to do your big title switches on television, fine, whatever. Make this title and these pay-per-view matches, like make them the crescendo of a story and not just, hey, we threw this together in the final 2 weeks. Hey, you saw this on TV 2 weeks ago. I need something more to sink my teeth into.
So that's why I would probably say that Super Trailer, why I agree with a lot of it, I would probably prefer Hangman wins it on Full Gear. Because this next one, I didn't like what they did at Double or Nothing with Kenny, and we both talked about that. But this next one, I am willing to excuse if you're indeed doing Darby and Punk. Because, listen, it's Punk in Chicago. You know, yeah. I may have dismissed it as not that big a deal 3 weeks ago, but look at the evidence. It's a humongous deal.
Yeah.
So that's fine. I'm with that. You give Christian a chance to have the match where he's not being overshadowed by Punk. You do it where it's like, you know, it's a privilege for the Pittsburgh crowd to see it rather than being, you know, kind of what they wanted to be Hangman. So he gets two bites of the cherry, so to speak. And then Hangman completing an arc on the next one would kind of, to me, right the ship as far as let's get this belt back to being what it needs to be on pay-per-view. But I stress again, it will be a challenge booking Hangman as babyface champ if you also have on the babyface depth chart Punk, Moxley, Bryan. Hangman is over. He can do it. But it will be a challenge. Like it will be this, you know, this not pretend otherwise. When you've got those 3 guys who are frankly 3 of the most popular professional wrestlers of the last 20 years, it ain't gonna be easy to book a babyface champ above them. So it's again a good challenge to have, but it is a challenge. It'll be interesting to see how they deal with that.
Ricardo says, having to hop on to see you guys be big stars. Thanks, Ricardo. The pow, Ricardo. We have so many super chats. We're like getting like over. We've talked about it many times. Kind of sucks.
Not ideal that we're popular. You're right. I saw Connor said about QT and Big Show being the main event. I have a very funny story about it, but read this chat first.
Mike Provinger says, I'd be okay with Hangman hitting the bus shot tomorrow, causing Christian to win, then doing again at AAA on Saturday. I mean, then you got to go Hangman in that title match. Like, yeah.
I do kind of like that, though. The pits, I like it on tomorrow night, at least, you know?
Yeah.
I like the idea of Kenny. Did you see that thing that was going on Twitter where Hangman like put a disc on the table for the Dark Order?
Yes,
did you see that?
I did. I saw that. That's got to be something, right? Like,
and
I don't
then
think they're
last
just
night,
doing that.
In their 5-star match with the Good Brothers, Dark Order were like separated. Did you notice they were conflicted because Evil Uno and Stu, they stopped the others from saving.
Yeah.
Like I could see a world where.
What do you think was on that disc? Do you think it was like a mix CD with like all like sad cowboy songs? I feel like that's what it was.
I think it was on BTE. Oh, okay. I would be intrigued by it. If Hangman is actually off because like his kid is being born, I would be intrigued by Hangman coming back, costing Kenny that belt, and just being like, guys, I'm going to be gone for a little bit, okay? When I'm back, we'll be again. Like, everyone's saying it's BTE. I can't believe we got worked by BTE. I'm sorry. I don't know.
I think it's a different disc. I think it's a different disc, everybody. It's a mixtape with cowboy songs on there. Where the wild horses run. What's the name of that song? Somebody in the chat will know it. Where have all the cowboys gone?
Anyway.
It's just that on a loop. That's what was on that CD.
Okay. Here's a pop for you. Okay. So, you know that I predicted Buddy Murphy was going to be on AEW this week, even though he's told me he's no compete is not up yet.
Yeah, it's on Friday.
So QT is in the ring with the Factory. And I go to my brother and I'm like, listen, guys, I've never seen BT in my life. I'm sorry. I apologize. I go to my brother, I go, this is Buddy Murphy. He's like, what? I was like, it's Buddy Murphy. And here's how I knew it, because I was like, Nick Camarato's not even out there because they don't want to have a guy that's more jacked than Buddy Murphy. He's coming out. He's going to be the new member of the Factory. Camera pans 1 second this way. It's like, oh no, Nick's there. Never mind. They grab Shivani's kid. They shit can him in the ring. They hit him with the diamond cut or whatever. And the music hits. And I see no more. And my eyes saw BS. And rather than going, oh, it's the Big Show, because that's his catchphrase, I just assumed there was a K in between the B and the S, and it was no more best kept secret. And I went, yeah, this. And then I saw Paul White, and my brother was like, oh, it's Paul White. I was like, yeah, Paul White. That was who it was. I really did that. And the funniest thing is, no more BS has been his thing since the first day he arrived in the company.
Yes.
Didn't matter to me. I decided it was Bud Murph. I was excited. I was very fired up. Tremendous. What a rib on myself that was.
Well, get ready for Friday, Joseph. After the Elite guys beat the shit out of Christian, it's going to say no more BM, because no more Buddy Murphy and whatever the hell his name is.
He's going to come out and kick the shit out of someone. It's going to be great.
Yeah, he's going to V-trigger Omega and just all the Elite guys. That's what's going to happen. I want to talk about the way AEW treats independent talent. Daniel Garcia was on the show last night against Darby Allin. They aren't indie guys, but like 2.0 was just released by NXT 30 days ago. And then like they're about to work a tag match with Sting next week, right? Like we see Lee Moriarty was tweeting stuff. We know they do a lot of they put the indie guys on Dark and give them some shine right there. What I like about with the Garcia stuff is they're like, this guy, he wrestled a 60-minute match. He wrestled like 6 matches this week and everything. Like, they make this stuff mean something. If you don't know who Daniel Garcia is, and I'm not gonna lie, like I didn't really know who Daniel Garcia was outside of just a little bit of Twitter buzz like a month or so ago. But now I've seen him work a couple times on Dynamite. It's like, oh shit, this guy's like really good. And even though he lost, it's like, man, this guy, he's really good. I don't know where he fits on this roster or anything, but it is nice to like let them, they come in and they're not just full on enhancement talents. They get some shine out here.
So I'm going to be honest. I am kind of divided on this in a weird way. I'm torn somewhat. I think when you treat Dynamite the way they treat it, which is in fairness, it's like it's a very focused show. They have 101 angles going on. I've got to be honest, I don't know if you want to make a habit of matches that are as kind of in a vacuum as this was. I'm going to be honest, okay? Like, I think there was about 4 feuds last night that got updated with like 30-second video packages. There was Starks and Cage, there was Santana and Ortiz and FTR, and there was Malachi Cup promo. Yeah. There was another one too. I forget what it was, but there was another one. And I like this match, and I think there's a bigger topic for you and I to talk about, which was what we're going to get into. But I will say before we do it, I do think you have to be careful doing matches that are this kind of like isolated. And the only reason I say that is I was watching this show with my brother, and like this didn't have much meat on the bone for him other than he finds the 2.0 guys funny immediately because they are very funny, right? And like next week has more because obviously like they're just like irritants and Sting's going to kick the shit out of them. That's great. But all of that skepticism aside, that's for a bigger talk about them doing it often, which they haven't yet. I can't stress how important it is for like professional wrestling as a whole that we have a major league promotion that kind of, for the community's sake, represents the independents as the guys that are bubbling underneath. You know, the guys that are out there killing it and the guys that are the current of what, you know, a John Moxley was or Eddie Kingston was or a Darby Allin was. That is such a contrast to what we're used to with Major League Wrestling. I mean, they really treat it like a scene. And what that means is, frankly, is it gets someone like my brother being vaguely interested in Impact or in New Japan because they're part of that universe. And eventually, when you bring a guy like Nick Gage in the fashion they did him, that can trickle down to a GCW, or it can trickle down further, to the independents. Because the GCW at this point is, they're in the game. But I just don't. I think there's a lot to be said for the way they present it. Which is obviously what your point was. Like it's something, man. It's really refreshing.
I think also like allowing talent to go work some of these shows too. Like AEW guys are on the PWG show. Like Malachi came there. It sounds like Malachi wants to continue to work some PWG shows. Eddie, I mean, you were fired up about AEW. Steven Jensen can just bring himself on. Jensen just pops on and I was going to do this introduction, but Eddie's working AEW, and this was the biggest show of the weekend for you.
I thought you was bringing Eddie Kingston on the show then for a moment. You was like, Eddie, here. I was like, what's going on here? But it's not Eddie Kingston.
It's better than Eddie Kingston. It's Steven Jensen.
Look at the shirt. Here he is, the great man.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't mean to add myself to the stream just then. I forgot I could even do that from here. So yeah. But
how are you, guys? You good?
Yeah, doing good. Hit some golf balls today. So having a good day.
I don't think that's how you swing a golf club.
There you go. Wow. There you go. Now, for those of you who don't know, I'm glad we have Jensen here today. I did not know he was coming on because Jeremy, apparently Jeremy and I now just like pop each other with surprises. Jensen had to tell me when I booked him for another show.
Yeah, Joseph hits me up like about something different, and I was like, "Oh no, I'm going to be on your show like today," and he was like, "Oh no, can you come on the other thing also?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can do that."
Yeah, there you go. So for those who don't know, Jensen is way more like tapped into the independent scene than Jeremy and I, right? Like especially nowadays, I'm way on the fringe. But like, I guess the question to ask you is. It's fun for us to be like, it's refreshing to treat a Daniel Garcia or Wheeler Yuta like the guys that they've got next almost, is how they're framed, right? These guys, like for you as someone that's actually watching their matches and then can turn on the TV, go to TNT and see them there with Shivani and JR on commentary, like, what does that do for you as a fan of the whole scene?
Dude, I mean, it's obviously awesome, but it's even better to see. I talk about my brother a lot when I do streams because like he lives right up the street from me. So he's over here a lot, but I wouldn't consider him a pro wrestling fan, but he knows more than the average fan would just because he's around me so much while I'm watching it. And his reactions are the best because like he sees all these guys that I'm watching on like IWTV and like GCW and all this stuff, and he'll start pointing out like when Kingston debuted in AEW, he was like, dude, is that the dude from the backyard wrestling you want? Like that's the dude from the backyard. Like what? It's like, yeah, like, and he's like, oh my God. And like his favorite guy is Dominic Garrini because like Dominic Garini's on like every show that I watch. He's currently injured, but yeah, dude, it's the best. Especially when you get to see guys like, because like I started doing my personal show Fight Talk in like 2016, I think, and some of these guys like I interviewed when they were like 5 matches into their career, and now like they're on national TV. Like I love seeing that kind of stuff, man. It's the best.
So I guess the question is. Do you think there will be the more, as Jeremy mentioned as the example, me watching AEW because Kingston was there. Do you think you're going to see an increase in the more that these guys are spread across the kind of, your independent scene? More people are going to dip their toes in that stuff. Do you think that's something that you could see happening already? Like where a guy like a Kingston or a Darby, whoever it may be, does a guest spot. That kind of opens, increases the eyeballs on those shows. And with a Fight TV or an IWTV now, brother, this stuff is accessible. This is live. You can throw that thing on. Is that something you can already see happening or something you definitely see coming?
It's already happening for sure. It's going to keep happening more. I mean, especially the more they can get guys like Nick Gage on national TV. Like, I mean, when they put Nick Gage on that first night where he just came out with the pizza cutter on the ramp, I guarantee you that spiked GCW buys for that weekend because they had, a pay-per-view that weekend on Fight. And then you get to see him do an actual death match against Chris Jericho, and people are like, wait, where is this happening? Like, there's a company that does this like every weekend, and then they come over and they check it out. I heard y'all mention before I popped on, like Daniel Garcia, they literally, just to give people an example of like how accessible pro wrestling is right now, just this past weekend alone, you had the Scenic City Invitational Tournament. That was Friday and Saturday night on IWTV. You had the Future Showcase from the same building, Saturday afternoon, IWTV. That was Action Wrestling. You had IWTV 100 on Sunday, which was Daniel Garcia versus Wheeler Yuta in an hour-long draw. And then over on Fight TV over the weekend, you had VXS, AAW, and GCW. So, like, You know what I mean? If you call yourself a pro wrestling fan, you can't find something out of all those shows that you like. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so much good stuff going on right now.
Jeremy, I apologize for hogging this, but I'm genuinely one thing I want to hear here. How is the best way, in your opinion, to handle a Daniel Garcia? So here's what I mean by that. Clearly, he is good enough to be signed and given one of those fancy all-elite graphics, right? He's clearly skilled enough to do that. However, my instincts are his development will be better as being the top guy on the independent scene. And I mean truly top guy in a way where he's working not every Wednesday and Friday for AEW and then doing a spot here or there. Does that make sense? So how does AEW do a thing where it's like, we want to kind of, this guy deserves a contract. We can't take money out of his pocket for the sake of his development. That seems silly too. And this is the one thing I think about a lot is like a Wheeler Yuta is just he's gonna progress more doing a 60-minute classic than he is a 6-man 3-minute match on Dark. How does AEW find a balance there without missing out on signing guys that frankly deserve to be signed? What do you think?
Well, I think that's one of the big beauties of AEW itself is they can give guys contracts where they can continue to work the indies if they want to. So, like, you have to find a balance there. But I think a guy like Joey Janela is a great balance. Like, he's on AEW often, but he's also still almost always on GCW. Like, but if you want a guy like Daniel Garcia full time, I see what you're saying. But that's just the way the business has been working the last handful of years. Even, guys that have since been let go by the WWE recently. You had guys like Alex Zane, Blake Christian, Ben Carter, those type of dudes who rose, after, without getting too into it, y'all know how it all worked. AEW was in the works. WWE was hoarding talent. AEW was signing the people that were still out there. And then these other guys and girls just had to fill those spots. But then they got signed super fast also. So certain wrestlers didn't even have a long time to be on top on the indies, and then we're kind of thrown right into a mainstream TV product. But a guy like Daniel Garcia, he has an advantage because he's TV ready right now. They could put him on AEW in any scenario, he's going to succeed. But I mean, it would be nice to see him as a long-term top indie guy. But I think AEW can give you a good balance of those things, and it lets you decide what you want to do. I mean, even a guy like John Moxley is still working indie events just because he wants to. You know what I mean? I mean,
King's going to Defy in a couple of weeks. I'm pretty sure. I feel like Darby's going to be back there pretty soon. I think this gives the independents good publicity, and then if you do just bring them on, I agree with your point, Joseph. Of you bring them on the match is in a vacuum. It can't happen too often because you can't take away from the other storylines. But if you just let a guy like Wheeler Yuta's been getting a shine with best friends, Daniel Garcia, you just bring these guys, Nick Gage, you bring them on, let them do a shine, give that rub, let it trickle down to the indies.
Absolutely. I guess it's interesting to me in the sense that, if you sign a guy like Daniel Garcia, as great as he is now and as TV ready as he is now, he isn't a guy that you would factor in high on the card immediately. He'd be a long-term signing, right? You'd look at him and say, man, a couple of years down the line, we're going to have him ready. Maybe you'd pair him with a Brian or someone of that ilk. I don't know. But I guess it's just interesting in the sense that for an independent promotion, they're going to use a signed AEW guy differently than an independent guy. Right? I guess that's my and that's where I think and this, by the way, guys, this isn't me being critical by any means. It's me trying to figure out, frankly, a new situation because AEW isn't, the impact of the last 5 years or the Ring of Honor of the last ever. It is major league in the biggest way. Brother, we're talking about 2.0 working Sting. This is awesome. Is a different ballgame, and we love it. I'm just fascinated to see how the game kind of develops in that sense. And maybe it is, dare I say, I have to be very careful with this one, maybe it is really direct partnerships with some of these promotions as being he's still your champ. You can use him whenever you want, but we've got him on paper. Maybe it's stuff like that. I don't know.
And I don't get your thoughts on this as well, Jensen. You mentioned, okay, maybe it stunts Garcia's growth because he's just better off working independents and stuff. We saw something kind of special last night. I don't know if you know this, Joseph, but Dante Martin, very good. And I didn't get a no shit from you. I'm trying to pop you with a no shit, and you can't even give me that. My God.
I'm sorry. I couldn't believe what I forgot. The idea we didn't talk about matches is so embarrassing on that part, but go ahead.
Well, that's why I brought it there.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Oh, shit. Sorry.
Let's just train of thought.
No. I got a message. Bad news. Okay. I apologize. Dante Martin got big shine in this match, and like he's 20 years old. His growth ain't stunting at all in AEW. Like, is he going to be a champion in the next year? No, but he's not hurting right now, especially after a match like that. You can still like kind of showcase these guys. I feel like even if they're under contract and let them work indies. What do you think, Jensen?
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree with that. Like, and the thing with Dante too is like, I was aware of his brother Darius for a while as Airwolf, but I didn't even know about Dante pre AEW. And like, so AEW is like how I found out about him, and now it's like, boom, he's like right there. He's super impressive. He's going to get more TV time. I love them as a tag team as well. So yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you said, Jeremy.
This is where I'm fascinated by the idea of building like, and this is what I always thought WWE should have done if they wanted to have as much talent as they did, but they never did this. They would just make like NXT UK. But there's a world in which, like, if you want to be partners with the NWA, there's a lot of issues that come with that, right? But the one thing that's good about it is studio wrestling and guys get reps on the microphone. Right, somebody like if you can send a Dante Martin to do a taping and he cuts 4 promos in 2 days, I see no issue with that at all. Like, and that's where my mind kind of goes. There are some guys that you could send, let them do the independents, let them kind of perfect their craft. But then there's also guys, and maybe a Daniel Garcia is one of these, where it's like, man, I like pieces of what he's got there. He has that kind of natural mean streak, right? He's sinister. What if we get him some promo reps here? Or what if we make Dark more that kind of show and everyone goes promo? Like, this is the thing is AEW in 2 years has already reached a point where I'm kind of plotting in my head their own major overarching system, because we have to, as I've said a million times, they have like 100 wrestlers. And that doesn't have to be an issue if you're open-minded and you let guys get their reps and get their experience elsewhere. That's the underlying topic to me as we have this expansion taking place in front of our eyes, I guess, is like, do you see stuff like that being possible, Jensen? Impact's obviously in the game too. They're partners. And like, this stuff can happen, right?
Yeah, I think it's totally possible that, even if like AEW has interest in a certain wrestler that they're like, we don't really have a spot at the moment, but we have a really good relationship with Impact. So like, let's get you a contract over there. Right. Like, and you can still work on our shows here and there. We have a working relationship, but they'd be signing your checks, but it's still, I mean, that's the beauty of the whole Forbidden Door concept. I mean, really any company outside the WWE right now could work with one another if they really wanted to. And all these companies are just going to get rubs off AEW. I mean, it's wild because AEW is the youngest company we're talking about, and they're the ones that like are all getting the rub off of them. Yeah. But and also something I think that could potentially help out on like the IWTV level, right, is like someone like Wheeler Yuta or Daniel Garcia in particular. Whoever's holding that title now holds a recognized world championship by PWI, which is a pretty big deal, meaning the IWTV championship is now considered a world heavyweight championship. So someone like Kenny Omega might actually be interested in that. Like, that's a world title that he could go out and win. I mean, if Kenny, I'm not saying this would necessarily happen, but it could in today's landscape. You can get Kenny Omega on a show in a high school gym in Chattanooga, Tennessee, in front of 500 people. And it's like, why not? Like, he's still getting paid by AEW. You know what I mean? Like, he's still going to make his money. He goes in there, gives a giant rub to this indie promotion. Everyone goes and pays $10 a month on IWTV. Use code Fight Talk when you sign up for the platform. and yeah, I mean, the cool thing is, it's been proven by guys like Jon Moxley that, like, I don't think he would care if GCW was drawing 5 people in the audience. He just wants to be a part of this stuff. Like, I think that's the case with a lot of these guys that are on top in AEW. They just love pro wrestling and they're making money regardless.
I think one of the most exciting things about AEW is this notion that they are kind of a lot of the theories that we've heard 1,000,001 times. They're kind of tearing them up, and them truly using the independent scene as like an asset rather than just like this place where we get guys and never talk about. Is so interesting, and that's I apologize for taking this thing all over the place, but that was Jeremy, I think's main point, was how the commentary team framed Daniel Garcia. I mean, we cannot stress enough how big a deal it is to treat these other promotions, whether small or big, as like legitimate and worthwhile, rather than doing the thing of, can he cut in the big leagues? I mean, that is, in terms of big picture, that could truly transform the wider wrestling world, which is a wild thought, but it's the truth, because perception is reality, right? And they're trying hard to change that. It's good stuff.
Steven Jensen, give me one name that you would just like to see on Dynamite wrestle a 15-minute match against whoever.
Ooh, like right now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many you could choose.
One
so
name, Steven Jensen.
If I had one name currently not signed anywhere that I think is like would just do well anywhere against anybody, AJ Gray. I'll say AJ Gray.
Okay. Jensen, plug your stuff.
Man, you want to give me any other shout outs of any of these other wrestlers? Go watch Cole Radrick. Go
shout people out.
Go watch ASF. That dude's killing it in GCW right now. Go watch Matthew Justice. Go watch Joshua Bishop. That's my dude. That guy's killing it. Anyways, if y'all want to watch me later tonight, I'll be on the Fightful Twitch. Me and Joel are going to be watching Wrestling Society X tonight. So if anyone wants to join us, we're going to be watching some old school.
Why am I not clued in on this stuff?
Because you're finding out now. We're working on something potentially to watch for other streams. But for tonight, we've decided on Wrestling Society X. You're invited. You can come watch it with us.
Oh, thanks for inviting me onto my platform. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Absolutely. As I wear your shirt and show your merchandise for a defunct promotion. And I'll be with Joseph tonight, or in I guess a couple hours on Patreon.
Yeah,
so.
You sure will be, pal. That'll be a show. I'll advertise that for us later. Don't worry, It's all good.
If y'all want to watch me and Jesse Davin talk about wrestling tomorrow, we're going to talk on her YouTube channel at 1 p.m. Eastern. So that's the last thing I'll plug. Listen to FightfulSelect.com. Subscribe to FightfulSelect.com.
There you go. Thank you, Steven Jensen.
What a legend.
JJ says Jensen's showing up like he's Bud Murphy.
This Bud Murph thing is so out of control.
We've taken it way too far. Just got in. John Blanford said, just got in. Hope I didn't miss anything too exciting. This whole show is exciting. What are you talking about? Look at that fine ass BP Dub shirt Jensen's rocking. Way to promote the brand. Yeah, as Jensen said, we blew up that promotion. So, what can you do? My God, so many super chats. I don't stop. I mean, keep sending money. I don't get any of it, but keep sending it. Buddy Murphy versus Kenny Omega versus Jeremy Vicha. I'd wash them. Completely wash them.
Your leg would fucking explode.
It would. 100%. Evan Wright says, hey, brother, don't have a spot on Dynamite for you, but here's the New Japan Strong contract. Go work Fred Rosser and Carl Fredericks for now. It's a good gig, man. It's a good gig. That Strong show's a nice little show. Shane Mercier and Mance Warner for Dynamite, please. There you go. Evan Wright says it. All right, Joseph, you know what time it is?
I do. Unfortunately, I do know what time it is. It's Bob O'Neill time, Jeremy.
History final bang!
Robert O'Neill's here. How you doing, Robert O'Neill?
What's up, guys? How's it going?
Doing well. Do you want to do the Sasha Banks for us?
No, that's Patreon exclusive.
Good job, Bob. Good job. This is actually a big one. I'm actually very excited for this free. Here we go.
I am terrified right now, by the way. I don't think this is going to go well, but let's see.
All right, you ready?
Shit.
Let's play it.
Shit.
Oh, no, Joseph, what's wrong?
I'm just realizing what this is going to look like, because if Bob's terrified, that means he's about to jam this down his throat, and it's going to.
No, it's fine. I got little cups. I'm good.
Oh boy!
Okay.
All right, everybody.
Okay.
We'll let O'Neill set this up. So here we go.
History final bang!
Okay, so if you listen to Kurt Angle's podcast, you know two things. One, he screams his intro. Two, he spends the last 10 minutes of every show promoting his chicken snacks nutrition thing. So I picked some up, excited to try them. Got 3 different flavors here. The first one we got is Kung Pao. And kind of off the bat, it got cut when I was opening the box, so I kind of screwed up opening it. Also, it looks like dog food. So, not super pumped about this one, but let's see how it is. You can kind of see it there, too.
Oh,
God,
Jesus.
it does look like dog food.
Yeah, I know. It's weird.
We need fucking hell. Jesus Christ.
Okay.
When he said it was in a cup, I was like, what does it look like? And now I realize why it's in a cup. That's fine.
Yeah, it's just kind of like loose pellets. It's not bad. It's a little spicier than I thought it would be. Also kind of sour, but that could just be because it's Kung Pao flavor, I guess.
Okay.
Let me.
You have a palate cleanser? There you go.
Yeah, I got my water.
Good job, Bob. You're a minute in, so you're just about on time here. Go ahead.
And then, so the other two are ones that I was actually excited to try because, buffalo wing and blue cheese, which looks less like dog food at least. And, you'd figure like a buffalo wing flavor would lend itself pretty well to, because it's all, I guess, like chicken protein.
You haven't got that much time, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate this. I appreciate all of the.
So let's try the buffalo one.
Okay, good. I wish you got to watch more of these TV shows, brother. They don't eat it like that. They have like it's a style to it. But I appreciate it.
Yeah. I think I'm just tossing it down as donuts. So much better.
That one's actually good. It actually tastes like wings. I would recommend that one. That one's not bad.
Good job, Bob.
All right. And the last one, we got cinnamon swirl with pretzels, and it smelled very good when I opened it. So I'm real excited about this one. Kurt says it's their best seller. So we're gonna just take a couple of these here.
Do all of them look like dog food?
To like a varying degree.
Okay. Don't talk with your mouth full.
Sorry.
Especially with a microphone directly.
Oh man. Okay. That one's very good.
Oh wow.
That one tastes like Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Wow.
Yeah, that's very good. So yeah, I'd recommend the cinnamon one and the buffalo wing one. The Kung Pao one's not great, but I think overall, these Kurt Angle chicken snacks are good as gold.
His three-pointer, bang!
Oh no. He said he had a great closing line and that was it. I thought he would have been scared off talking about Olympic gold medalist wrestlers after what happened to him last week, but no, he just keeps. Damn, man.
He DMs me. He goes, I'm going to try to time it so it's right. I just exposed the DMs. I'm going to try to time it so it's right at the end, but just in case I don't make it all the way to 3 minutes, I need your help here. Assuming I like the Kurt Angle chicken snacks, my closing line is going to be, these Kurt Angle chicken snacks are good as gold. Then I'm going to do a big thumbs up, and you got to cut me because I can't top that.
I want to apologize to Bob. I didn't want him to be late, but he actually timed it much better than I did. He was 30 seconds early, so I'm sorry.
He was.
I have to say, though, as much as it was a positive review, I don't know if Kurt's going to endorse that as a review, because, the way that he was eating, I have to admit, no matter what he said after he ate them, I did not want to eat what he was eating there. The way he was eating it did not look, it was not very appetizing,
Daniel Rosales says 2.0 more over than Andrade. Give me Brian with Yuta, Garcia, Moriarty, or he just beat up luchadors and high flyers with pure rules.
That's great. That would be great.
And Chris Knight says, I think Bob O'Neill just ate some kibble.
Just the way that he was doing, he had it in a cup, which is one thing, but then he would just sort of grip it and just fucking dive down his throat. It was incredible. Amazing stuff.
Oh, man.
Guess that was the distraction. I'm glad that I said we should finish Charlotte early because I don't know if we can top that anyway, right? He couldn't top it. We can't top it. Let's be real.
No, we can't. We can't. Thanks, everybody. J.K. Shaw says it should have made him sit there awkwardly for 30 seconds. No. Look, if O'Neill wants me to end there, I will end there. I'm completely fine with that. Are you kidding me? All right, everyone. We'll be on Twitch in about 5 minutes or so. Twitch.tv/Fightful Gaming post show. Is there anybody on the post show, Joseph? I don't book these things anymore.
There is not, but let me throw this briefly here.
Okay.
The post show tonight, folks, is on Patreon. $1 to sign up. You can pay more if you'd like to, but it is just $1. There's no tiers or anything. It will be the ultimate show, but actually good. There's myself, Bob O'Neill, the food reviewer, SP3 and Stephen Jensen, the independent expert. I didn't give SP3 a name. That felt bad, right?
Yeah, that was kind of a dick move.
Yeah, sorry, SP3. He doesn't watch it. That'd be fine. So anyway, us four are going to collectively unite to put together our dream SummerSlam card, much like they do on that program called The Ultimate Show that I'm definitely not ripping off. Debate, man. It's going to be debate. You can lock in one match, 10-match cut. There you go. But just remember, complaining is not conversation when this stuff happens. So I'm fired up for that on Patreon. That'll be at probably 6 p.m. Eastern time. But first, see us on the Twitch where we will talk to the chat for an hour and a half, and all the arseholes in the chat will no longer be there. Oh, how?
That's patreon.com/The Distraction. Sign up to Fightful Select as well. We had 3,000 subscribers this week. We are the most subscribed to wrestling Patreon. And I feel like kind of a big deal. We don't have anything to do with it, Joseph.
Our power, Jeremy. Our power.
our lost show that never made it to Patreon is why everybody subscribed to it. So big milestone for Fightful Select. Sean works very, very hard, and he deserves it. And Jensen's show is over there. Alex Pulowski's show is over there as well. You get a lot of content. Patreon.com/Fightful Select. Patreon.com/The Distraction. Get a lot of content there as well for $1 or pay more. You can pay more. Joseph has a coke habit. I have kids. Please pay us more. Twitch.tv/Fightful Gaming. That's where we'll be at 4:15. We'll be back next week talking, I don't know, AEW. That's all the show is. AEW. Right. Thank you guys. We really appreciate the support. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all's evening. We'll catch you over on the Twitch.